Let us talk about the 30-06 Springfield. If you want to define American ballistic dominance in a single cartridge, this is your huckleberry. We are talking about the exact same brass and lead that laid down covering fire on the beaches of Normandy. It carried our boys through the hell of two global conflicts, and it cemented its legacy as an absolute nightmare for the enemy when paired with a skilled military marksman. But when you bring this battle-proven round back stateside, its civilian resume is just as staggering. The 30-06 is the ultimate benchmark. Every other medium to large game cartridge out there has to answer to the 30-06. You can dial your load data way back and vaporize coyotes at 300 yards. Or you can cram some heavy for caliber, deep penetrating projectiles into the chamber and drop a charging grizzly in its tracks. It is the ultimate Swiss Army knife of the shooting world. Today on the range, we are diving deep into the hardware. I have lined up some of the most capable, tactical, and reliable weapon systems chambered in this legendary caliber. Each of these platforms tackles the mission with a completely different mindset. Let us tear them down and see what makes them tick. Benelli R1. First up on the bench is the Benelli R1. If you just glance at this thing in the rifle rack, it gives off a very refined, gentleman hunter vibe. But do not let that elegant Italian styling fool you for a second. Pop the hood, and you will find the absolute bleeding edge of combat-tested operating systems. This rifle runs on the Benelli auto-regulating gas-operated system. In the tactical community, we just call it the Argo system. That is the exact same self-cleaning, short-stroke piston design driving the M4 tactical shotgun. You know, the same scattergun trusted by the United States Marine Corps in the absolute worst environments on Earth. Because it breathes fire through that Argo system, it regulates port pressure automatically. You can feed it the spiciest defensive loads on the market, or step down to a lighter hunting cartridge, and it cycles with boring reliability. Plus, the physics of a gas-driven gun work wonders for your shoulder. Shooting a 30-06 out of a lightweight bolt gun can feel like catching a fastball with your collarbone. The R1 bleeds off that violent recoil impulse to run the action, softening the blow significantly. That means your reticle stays in the glass, and you are prepped for an immediate follow-up shot. They feed from a 4-round detachable box magazine. That gives you the distinct tactical advantage of a lightning-fast combat reload, bypassing the clumsy process of stuffing rounds through an ejection port. It is a heavy-duty fighting rifle wearing a tuxedo. Ruger American. Next up, let us look at the Ruger American. Over the last 20x, Ruger completely flipped the bolt-action market upside down with this platform. They cracked the code on how to deliver absolute surgical precision without demanding you empty your retirement account. The heart of this rig is the Ruger Marksman adjustable trigger. Instead of dealing with a gritty, unpredictable factory trigger, you get a clean 2-stage break. You can tune that let off right down to 3 pounds or bump it up to 5 if you are wearing heavy winter gloves. And you get that custom feel without having to drop $200 on an aftermarket trigger pack. Moving forward, you have a cold, hammer-forged barrel made from 4140 chrome moly steel. It is 22 inches of pure performance, cut with a 1 in 10 twist rate. As a ballistic tech, I can tell you that 1 in 10 twist is the holy grail for the 30-06. It aggressively stabilizes everything from lightweight monolithic copper rounds all the way up to those heavy 220-grain brush busters. The bolt features a massive 3-lug design, which gives you a lightning-fast 70-degree throw. That shallow lift keeps your firing hand completely clear of your optic. It is mounted in a rugged synthetic stock, bringing the total base weight down to just 6.2 pounds. Ruger even slaps a Picatinny rail on top right from the factory. Sometimes you can even find them pre-packaged with a Vortex Crossfire 2 scope already bore-sighted. It is rugged, it is relentlessly accurate, and it leaves plenty of cash in your wallet for training ammo. Browning BAR Mark III. Let us shift gears to the Browning BAR Mark III. This is what happens when deep-rooted American firearms heritage collides with modern auto-loading efficiency. The BAR name carries a ton of weight in the gun community, and the Mark III completely honors that legacy. This beast cycles via a gas-operated long-stroke piston. When you are running a heavy-hitting cartridge like the 30-06, that long-stroke system acts like a massive shock absorber. It transforms a punishing recoil impulse into a smooth, manageable push. If you miss your first shot on a moving target, this system guarantees you can send a second round downrange before the brass even hits the dirt. It locks up with a bank vault solid 7-lug rotating bolt head. That intense lockup strength is exactly why the BAR platform can handle high-pressure magnum loads without tearing itself apart. While Browning has modernized some models with detachable mags, the 30-06 versions usually retain the classic hinged floor plate. It keeps the underside of the receiver totally slick, which is perfect for carrying over your shoulder or resting on a barricade. And we have to talk about the sheer craftsmanship. You are looking at gorgeous, high-grade walnut and deeply blued steel. In an era where everything is injection-molded plastic, holding a BAR feels like holding a piece of functional art. Winchester Model 70 Featherweight. Now, if you want to talk about true royalty, look no further than the Winchester Model 70 Featherweight. They do not call this the rifleman's rifle just for marketing. This action was born back in 1936, and the core engineering was so perfect they barely had to touch it. It is famous for feeding flawlessly under stress and balancing perfectly when you are humping miles of steep terrain. The featherweight specifically lives up to its name, weighing in between 6.5 and 7 pounds. But when you press it into your shoulder, it feels incredibly planted and solid. The massive claw extractor grips the cartridge rim like a vice, giving you controlled round feeding that simply will not quit. Winchester paired that legendary action with a 22-inch cold hammer-forged free-floating barrel. That gives the 30-06 plenty of runway to burn its powder and achieve maximum kinetic energy. Fire control is handled by the Winchester MOA trigger system. It is ruggedized for brutal field conditions, yet it breaks like a glass rod for those critical, long-distance engagements. You can stuff 5 rounds into the internal box magazine. Everything on this rifle is blended and smoothed out so it will not snag on your chest rig, your backpack, or the underbrush. This is a heritage piece that you can bet your life on. Remington 783. Let us get down to brass tacks with the Remington 783. This rifle is a pure, unapologetic workhorse, built for the guy who demands reliability without paying for fancy aesthetics. Remington engineered this bolt gun specifically to be a rugged, everyday tool that fires every single time you press the trigger. It utilizes a stout cylindrical receiver and a carbon steel barrel that is completely free-floated. But the real magic happens inside the synthetic stock. Remington integrated dual aluminum pillar bedding blocks right into the chassis. That means the action is bolted directly to solid metal, completely eliminating any accuracy-destroying flex. Because of that rigid foundation, the 783 is capable of stacking rounds into sub-MOA groups with match-grade ammo. Seeing that kind of surgical precision from a rifle in this price tier is almost unheard of. It comes equipped with the Crossfire trigger system, factory set at a very clean 3.5 pounds. But you can easily adjust that pull weight from 2.5 up to 5 pounds to match your specific shooting style. It feeds from a flush-fitting 4-round steel box magazine that is incredibly durable. When you look at the street price, which hovers around $450, the 783 gives you pillar-bedded accuracy and an adjustable trigger for less than the cost of a high-end optic. It is an absolute steal for a 30-06 platform. Savage 11/111 Trophy Hunter XP. Finally, let us put the Savage 11/111 Trophy Hunter XP under the microscope. If there is one thing Savage is famous for, it is delivering terrifying accuracy right out of the cardboard box. This is the rifle you grab when you absolutely cannot afford to miss. The barrel on this rig is 100% free-floated from the receiver all the way down to the muzzle. Whether you are resting the forend heavily on a barricade, deploying a bipod, or wrapping into a tight sling, your point of impact will not shift. The detachable box magazine holds between 2 and 4 rounds, depending on your configuration, giving you a very slick, snag-free profile. But the undisputed champion of this system is the Savage AccuTrigger. It features a specialized center blade that acts as a drop safety. You get a trigger pull that is incredibly light and crisp, with absolutely zero creep, and it is completely safe from accidental discharges. The safety mechanism is a highly intuitive 3-position tang safety located right under your firing thumb. You can lock the whole gun down tight, or you can lock the trigger while keeping the bolt free to safely clear the chamber. It gives you total administrative control over the weapon system without ever having to break your firing grip. Savage even throws the AccuTrigger adjustment tool right in the box. You can dial in your preferred pull weight on your workbench before you even pack your range bag. It is a brutally effective, no-nonsense rifle. All right, let us wrap this up. We just ran through 6 wildly different ways to send the 30-06 downrange. Choosing the right platform comes down to defining your specific mission parameters. If your threat profile requires rapid follow-up shots and you want to mitigate the recoil of a heavy cartridge, you need to be looking hard at the gas-driven systems like the Benelli R1 or the Browning BAR Mark III. If you are setting up on a ridgeline and you need absolute cold-bore precision to make that one critical shot count, the Winchester Model 70 and the Savage are going to be your absolute best friends. But if you want a reliable, indestructible tool that maximizes every single dollar you spend, the Ruger American and the Remington 783 are the clear tactical winners. Now, I want to hear from you. Jump down into the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. Tell me which of these 6 weapon systems you are taking into the field, and give me your reasoning. If you got some solid intel out of this breakdown, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Engaging with the channel helps defeat the algorithm and ensures we can keep bringing you these deep dive tactical reviews. Until next time, stay sharp and stay safe. Always keep that muzzle pointed in a safe direction, and keep your booger hook off the bang switch until your sights are on the target.